What is up, disc golfers? Today on Iceberg TV, I want to talk about hole 8 at Maple Hill on the gold layout. We just saw this hole get aced twice this year. It feels like this is one of those shots where you either park it or ace it, or you will find yourself taking a bogey. This hole has a lot of history where a lot of great players have extended their lead and parked this and mastered this shot. And we've also seen some rounds where some great players have lost their lead, landed in the water once, sometimes even landed in the water twice, and taken a really large number on what seems like a very straightforward hole for a professional player. Now, something a little bit more interesting happened this year specifically to five-time world champion Paul McBeth. He found himself clearing the water, but also finding himself going out of bounds. Now, originally, the call was that Paul McBeth should proceed to the drop zone, and he winds up taking a 5. Paul McBeth was able to get this call overturned, and I want to talk about why. I think this is something that we don't get to see very often, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, so we have the hole map here. We have, it's pretty clearly marked. This is marked as water, and you go to the drop zone. The red line here is marked as out of bounds, and it would be treated as a normal out of bounds call. So if you go to the water, you go to the drop zone over here, and if you go out of bounds, you can boom, bring it back in as you would play a normal out of bounds. So they put this in the whole breakdown, and that's what Paul McBeth was essentially saying, that it's not an island hole. Just because there's water doesn't make it an island hole, and the OB rules need to be played accordingly to normal OB rules. So Paul gets over on it. It obviously goes over into that gray area. He gets called OB. He's probably not sure if he's OB yet. He's looking at the spotter. He's probably not entirely sure. So
I think they're discussing whether or not Paul has to go to the
So Paul's arising the question, and I can't tell if Fish is arguing with Paul back and forth, trying to tell him that he's wrong, or if he's just genuinely trying to help him figure out what to do. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't there. I'm not sure what exactly they were doing between one another, but let's see how that conversation went.
drop zone.
That's not in play on this hole.
It says if MPO gold tee shot lands OB in the water, proceed to drop zone 1.
But this isn't an island hole.
Not an island hole.
So yeah, so I crossed in bounds up there.
If you're OB in water, you go to this tee.
I'm not play provisional, but that's not how it should be. It isn't an island.
So Paul's drive must have gone in the water on the long side, which is
In the water.
in the water. And that is a very strange... Oh, look at this. Dropping, and Paul's gone out of bounds long. And once again...
Here's what's interesting about this shot.
My
is
goodness.
if he
Drop zone.
doesn't play the drop right there,
That's the thing,
he's
that
in the
doesn't make
water.
sense.
And I feel like he
So
played a
he's saying
perfect
if I
shot,
landed
and it
right
still
here,
dropped and
I
went
would take
deep.
it from here, but because I landed right there, I take it from back there. That's not the rule, Steve.
Like I said, if you just want to play it both ways like you did, I'm not
Yep.
Well, Steve's the TD. Steve, it's the same OB line. It comes right here.
So the corner would be that line right there.
It's the same line.
Right, and that's why we said at the beginning of the turn of the round, the rope defines, on this side of the pond, the rope defines the water. Because the same thing happens over there.
Why isn't that defined though in the rules? That is the exact spot where it ends.
Good argument.
So Paul McBeth winds up getting this overturned because he was right in this case scenario. And you can see the way that the other players and the TD are sort of communicating with him. They're just sort of really making it out to seem like Paul McBeth is in the wrong, but he really wasn't, and they wound up overturning it, and they wound up starting Paul McBeth at 13 under for the next round instead of 12 under, and they actually gave him the stroke back. And always fight for your case, and don't be afraid to bring it up, because a lot of players would have just been like, oh yeah, okay, I'll take the double OB5. And Paul McBeth wouldn't have been tied for the lead anymore if that was the case. And obviously the other guy tied with you in first is going to say that you're out of bounds again and you have to go to the drop zone. Like, obviously he's going to say that. So always defend yourself, always have a good understanding of the rules and understand how each hole works. And you can really save yourself a lot of strokes when these special case scenarios happen, and then don't be afraid to argue your case. If you have any questions, leave in the comments section down below. If you want to check out merch or become a patron, the links are down there as well. Thank you for watching. This is Iceberg TV, and take care.